Hello and welcome to the third in the series of very special episodes of Bonfireside Chat brought to you by the Souls of Darkness Kickstarter backers. In this episode, Alex Eich of the Blighttown Beacon and I will be discussing our top 10 favorite bosses in the Soulsborne series. I want to give a quick disclaimer. This was recorded with my kind of shitty over-the-internet recording rig as opposed to our fancy Patreon rig since Cole's not on it. And I also think there might have been an issue with my mic when we recorded because the sound quality is not up to our usual standards. So hopefully you'll forgive me. But yeah, thank you very much, Souls of Darkness Kickstarter backers. And we'll be back next time with me and Cole doing bottom 10 bosses.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
And I am Alex Eich.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat, a very special episode of Bonfireside Chat, as I continue my series of top and bottom 10s in support of the Souls of Darkness Kickstarter. And as you heard, I am joined today by Alex Eich of the Blighttown Beacon. Alex, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to have an awkward silence where Cole would be.
Yeah, I almost in my head almost just referred to him as a human awkward silence, but that's not. It's just it's not only that mean, but it's also inaccurate. It would have just been a crime of opportunity, like when you walk by a car and there's the windows rolled down.
Yeah,
I'm
Gary. I'm Gary Butterfield.
Yeah.
I'm Cole Ross.
I'm Cole Ross. And that would be the biggest jerky thing in the world to do. I mean, I understand the urge to throw a lit cigarette butt into empty cars. It doesn't mean I have to do it. So these I'm kind of Cole is actually going to be on the next one of these, but I'm kind of doing these with different guests to get some different voices on the show. So actually, before I get into that, Alex, how might people know you online?
Well, I run the Blighttownbeacon.com, which is the best way to describe it is it's like The Onion, except it's about a video game where a guy dresses like an onion.
Yeah, it's real Onion's Onion. It's got so many layers.
Yeah, it's another Shrek sequel, to be honest.
Yeah. It's like a fake news site with stuff from the Soulsborne games.
Yeah.
And then also some kind of general aggregation of Soul stuff as
Yep.
So you'll kind of see stuff on there, which is it's all real funny.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Like recent stuff I did. I had the statue of Velka winning a poker tournament. And Patches using Pokemon Go Pokestops to try and kick people into pits.
Which is very good and very accurate.
Yes.
And people who listen to this show might remember Alex from the Aldea's Keep episode of our Dark Souls 2 season. So a series veteran, series alum. So today we're doing top 10 bosses. I did a YouTube of these, but this has been revised with the Bloodborne DLC and Dark Souls 3. I haven't done one in this format before, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. And as per tradition, we allow an honorable mention on here. Alex, do you have an honorable mention, a number 11 slot?
I do, and I have to give it to Ceaseless Discharge for two reasons.
Okay. Is reason number one Ceaseless and then reason number two Discharge?
Actually, no. I just grouped them together for one reason. The first reason is because its name is fucking Ceaseless Discharge.
It is an unending discharge of a man.
And number two is because I've never actually fought this guy fairly, and I think that's perfectly fine because it's the funniest damn thing.
Yeah. his little groofies. His goofy fall.
Yeah.
It's actually one of if you fight Ceaseless, it's one of the worst fights in Dark Souls 1, I think. It is impossible to get a camera on him, and the only real way to beat him is by manipulating this blind spot in the geometry.
I think I did that with the alleyway crevice that you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that once.
Yeah.
I ended up killing myself with the life on scythe.
Yeah. He's not very fun to fight because I think you're not meant to fight him. But he is a real sad boy, and it is a real silly thing to have this gigantic, majestic creature literally fall into a pit because he can't hold on.
Yeah.
Also, how is he how is he falling? Like, how far is he falling? Because he's standing on the ground. There, I guess it's that big pit area between.
It's like the I think it's the abyss, like waterfall edge that he's falling off on.
Yeah, he literally makes like kind of a jump to get over to you from there, which like is a mistake. If you just wait a second, I'll be down there. You know, you can just stomp on me.
I mean, it's pretty fair. We did steal his clothes.
We did take his. You're never going to fit into those, buddy.
Yeah.
Like no matter how much you diet, like those aspirational clothing, that's an unhealthy thing. You should stop.
Yeah, I mean it's your sister's clothes, so.
You get some.
What fantasies do you have?
Some Code Veronica shit.
Yeah.
Going on there. My honorable mention is the Dark Lurker from Dark Souls 2, which is a fight I actually love. It's my my favorite actual fight in Dark Souls 2. Other than some of the stuff in the DLC, but it is the fact that there's no. I'm looking at these holistically, so hilarity and or story and personality and kind of the story of these bosses also counts, and the fact that this guy is just kind of in a void. There's nothing to him.
Yeah.
Is the reason why he ends up in the honorable mention. I still wanted to mention him because he's great.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I always just found it weird because it's like you're in that kind of like abyss chasm dungeon setup, and then you get to his boss room, and it's like this very well lit cave.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels pretty. It feels kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like we had to have a boss here, and again, mechanically, I think it's very strong. It's just not. There's nothing to his personality or backstory.
Yeah.
There's just not enough information on the Dark Lurker.
It's a fantastic fight.
It's super good. Like I really, it's my favorite. Just as a pure fight, my favorite caster fight in the game, or in the series rather. Mm-hmm. So very very good. Who do you have for number 10, Alex?
Sticking nearby in Dark Souls 1, I have the Gaping Dragon. Mainly because one, its intro video is fantastic. Just creeping up over the edge, and you think it's going to be this tiny thing, and then it's, oh shit. But mainly, I feel like it's one of the few large boss fights that they do very well in the series. Because 90% of the time they're shit, and then 10% of the time they're the Gaping Dragon.
Yeah, you can almost always. There's only the big problem with the giant bosses in Souls is that you can't get a good vision of them, seeing all of them, being able to see their tells and stuff. But the nice thing about the Gaping Dragon is that like it kind of allows you to keep that middle distance where you can keep most of them on your camera.
Yeah, and the environment that you're in is just ridiculously huge.
Yeah. There's no getting caught on geometry, and you can kind of when he does actually fly up, which is the one time he'll get off of your screen, that's just your signal to run in a direction.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't end up, you don't get punished for it. So it ends up being kind of an easy boss, but it's not hard because of bullshit reasons, which would be the other direction they could take it. So I like that.
And you can get his tail, which I mean, any boss where you can cut off the tail and get a weapon for it is always a plus.
Oh yeah, like you get a weapon and you take away some functionality from the boss.
Yeah.
So it's double cool.
Unlike Sin. Fuck Sin.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was the most depressing thing. Just yes, I got the tail. Wait, did nothing? Nothing? Oh.
Yeah. The hardest I've ever, like the most times I feel like I've died on a boss was me trying to get Seath's tail.
Oh my god, yes.
Which I find Seath's tail to be, maybe not the most times I've died on a boss, but like I've died a lot of times trying to get Seath's tail, which is almost frustrating.
Yeah, it's almost mandatory to have another player for that.
Yeah. And it was on a sorcery build, so I was like just firing soul spears at it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen anytime.
Yeah, it did not. Did not go well. My number 10 is the two princes from Dark Souls 3.
The Super Lothric brothers.
Yeah, the Super Lothric brothers. 1, 2, the princes. Well, one of them kneels before you. So these guys, I really like this fight. Formerly, this was my favorite Dark Souls 3 fight, and then with thinking and that holistic nature, another one has kind of taken over. But it is, I love these guys. I think this is a really good fight. I think that the cool thing is you don't, the fact that the older brother teleports around doesn't actually change what you do that much. You're still kind of reacting to visual stimulus, and as soon as you see him disappear, you need to roll to get out of the way of his attack in most cases. But it just feels very different. Like it makes him feel much trickier. And then as a two-phase boss fight, the best, multiple phase boss fights I get pretty sick of in general. But the
looking at you, Gunder.
Yeah. Or I mean, even like Soul of Cinder, like it's just, you're gonna just refill your health, all right. It's kind of a bummer, but this guy, it's nice because the best ones build on the previous phase really organically. So
literally,
here, exactly, like the same way a Lego builds on a slightly bigger Lego that can't walk. He never loses any moves. He just adds moves to it. But all of your other verbs are still like super important. Your instincts as far as like getting out of the way when he teleports. If you roll when he teleports, whether he's going to do magic or attack you, you've either started rolling, which you need to do to get rid of the little magic missiles, or you've rolled out of the way of his attack. So your instincts are still serving you, even though they're just kind of scaled up. And we'll see that in another boss fight that's like much higher on the list too. That I think does that really well.
Yeah.
And I like the story behind these guys. Like there's not quite enough. Like the Lothric side of Dark Souls 3 does feel weirdly unfinished to me as a story. Like, and we talked about this in the most recent episode of the mainline show that we recorded, but how so much of the game concentrates on Sullivan and Aldrich, and then it's like, okay, wait, let's go back to this.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of story focus on it.
Yeah, I think it's. I really hope Vadi is right with the DLC being Londor and the Angels of Lothric. Yeah. Because that would fill in so many. It would just make everything just a lot more fleshed out. Yeah.
I think that Londor is a really safe bet. I think that the Angels of Lothric one is like a semi-safe bet. Like I think some of it'll be related, but I don't know exactly where we'll end up going.
I just want to fight Guinevere. that's a little checkbox I want checked.
You did fight her. You shot her with an arrow.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, I know. So there's no honor in that. Who do you have for number 9?
Number 9, I have the Firstborn, the Nameless King.
Ah.
I didn't like this fight initially because it really fucks with your camera for the first half. But I die. It was one of those fights where you die to him so many times that you just get into a rhythm where you know exactly what his moves are, what the range is on him, and just how far you need to be away and what timing is. And it was just, I felt like that was really rewarding when I finally beat the Nameless King, with maybe 2 health left and no Estus flasks. That's the only way you beat him.
Yeah, he definitely is set up that way. This is actually Nameless King's on my bottom list. I kind of hate this boss fight, but I get what you mean, and there are lots of things I like about it. So presentation wise, it has this huge sense of scale, right?
Yeah.
It looks really, really cool. It just does a lot of things that I don't like. Like that first phase, the camera Estus tax phase.
Yeah.
Where it's just this is just here to wear me down before the actual fight. And then the actual fight, I just wish was tuned a little bit less aggressively. Where there's so few opportunities to heal, and so many of his actual downtime moments where you can strike are not. Where it looks like he stops for a second, but then the second you do anything, he instantly charges at you. Even though he'd previously just wrapped up a combo.
Right.
Usually when he's 6 feet away from you or 8 feet away from you. So eventually, I soloed all the bosses in Dark Souls 3, and the time I did, I'm never doing that again. That was really frustrating. This took 1,000 tries.
Yeah.
And just, and then I ended up running out of embers because I was doing it for the health buff.
Oh, right.
And then that introduces grinding, and it just got really frustrating. But I will say that I think he's really fun to fight co-op, and he might be one of those bosses that I feel is kind of balanced for such.
Yeah, he's really rewarding if you can. It's I feel like he's a lesser Artorias when you get to that second half of the fight, because it's you don't have much room for error. So when you actually get it right and you beat him, it's that much more rewarding. plus dying to him so many times, I found out like the very few windows of, oh shit, I should probably heal now. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. It's very, very rare. I think that like it's just a matter with him for me of like sliders. Like if you know, just like turning down his aggression 10% or turning down his stamina like 10% would have made a big difference for me.
Yeah, because doing the fight co-op is literally get him to, well, I mean, much like most bosses in Dark Souls 3, if you do co-op, it's get them to face one guy so you can bitch slap them in the ass, and then they'll turn around and face you, and they'll bitch slap them in the ass.
Yeah, you just kind of take turns drawing aggro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I guess like the other reason why this guy's frustrating, and I'll talk about that more in the episode with the bottom things, just for me, is just the kind of holistic thing. Like this story ended up being like a weird. The two like big NPC lore things I ended up really latching on to not liking in Dark Souls 3 were kind of end up being symbolic of like bigger things. So it's like Sigurd, which I don't like, and I've talked about it a lot on the record why I don't like Sigurd.
Right.
But Nameless King, where it's like the lore in Dark Souls 3, and I keep saying this, but it's either 40% spelled out or 100% spelled out.
Yeah.
So, like, the Nameless King stuff is so complete. Like, I resisted it for a little while and then, like, looked at it, I was like, oh, no, this is clearly the case. This is Gwyn's firstborn. Regardless of whether I like that that's true, it is, the fact that it's so undeniably true just means that my YouTube feed is cluttered up with, like, 12 different people doing a Nameless King lore video. Like, it doesn't even qualify as lore anymore. It's not subtext. Like, it's just text.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit too spelled out. Without actually, like, it's spelled out 100% and being kind of undermotivated because we still don't know what the initial why he betrayed, you know, Gwyn, like what the actual story is. The interesting part isn't there. It's just kind of, you know, something about having everything spelled out makes the part that we don't have, like the 5% we don't have spelled out, feel worse.
Plus, I feel, like, the only bad thing, really, that I got from the lore is just the kind of big FU to the entire community where it's just like, this is the real firstborn, Solaire is soup.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck you for liking him. I resented putting him in every game.
Yeah.
You know, why did this become the meme? Why aren't people walking around with Big Hat Logan shirts? You know, and it just, there is an element of just kind of like, it's kind of playful, but it also, like, I know, like, most people I know who really love the Nameless King as a lore thing really hated the Solaire is firstborn story. And, like, I felt a little bit I believed it. Like, I thought, like, Solaire was definitely the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the community effort of it. But it still felt like a 70% lore theory where I was like, there's room for other stuff here. And that I kind of liked that. And this kind of, like, stomps on that. But as far as, like, even just as far as a fight goes, like, I do have fun with this co-op. And it's really fun to help. And it is a jump-in-place co-op because people are always looking for help with this guy.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Sir Alan from Dark Souls, the Ivory King DLC, which is flavor-wise, like, I love this idea of, like, a character or a boss having the sense of honor. Like, I love the fact that he will kill himself if you don't take a hit.
Still haven't been able to do it.
It's really, really hard. I did it the second time through.
Wow.
Through the thing. It's pretty tricky. But he's not that difficult of a boss. Like, that's not the point of him. So he's made so you can kind of see this Easter egg. But I really love that Easter egg. He's in this very big, beautiful arena that is a reference to the King Allant fight, which is one of my favorite arenas in the series. And he's one of these classic, like, duels that I think really works. You know, you learn his moveset. He doesn't have an infinite number of moves. He doesn't switch into a second phase where he grows a second head or some shit like that. Like, he's just, you know, learn the moves and duel him on even ground.
Yeah.
And I really like boss fights like that. And we'll see a couple of them in this list for me.
Oh, me too. Wait till we get to the top 5.
Yeah. Who's your number 8?
My number 8, dipping into Bloodborne, Queen Yharnam.
Queen Yharnam. That's real good.
I love this fight. I love the symbolism. I love the copious amounts of blood everywhere. And the fact that a screaming baby is enough to paralyze me. This fight just fucks with you, and it's great.
Yeah, that's a real great fight, and did not end up on my list, but it was super close. Like, it was like my number 12, and then it was like, I actually probably liked that fight as much as Dark Lurker, but wanted to make the point of, like, this is what a boss fight is like if you, like, if something is purely a good fight and has no story behind it, like, that kind of gets a little bit of a ding.
Yeah.
And wanted to talk about that. But I love the Queen Yharnam fight.
Yeah, Queen Yharnam fight's great. Everything leading up to the Queen Yharnam fight can go die in the, like, lowest pits of hell. I swear to God, the Chalice dungeons are Satan.
That's part of it, too, and that's, again, like that lore part, where it's like, yes, the city's named after Yharnam, and there's a lot... The Yharnam does kind of put together the Murgo things. Like, it does, like, add, you know, kind of fix up that aspect of the lore. At that point, it felt a little bit like the game had, like, not moved past it, but, like, was concentrating on different stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, like there's this nightmare, and then when the DLC is introduced, and we get this idea of cause, that I think is generally stronger than the Thumerian stuff.
Oh, definitely.
You know, so, like, but the actual fight is amazing, and I hate that so many people are not going to get it, because to get through it, you have to get through the Defiled Watchdog. And, like, you know, it's just like, what a high bar. Like,
I actually had more problem with, Cursed, Defiled, Amygdala.
Yeah. I cheese the shit out of that. There's a strategy where you can just kind of, you run to the same place every time, and you can always just hit it with a certain weapon. And I did it, and it was like, oh, this is not fun. I hate that fight too. Yeah. I hate all of it.
I did it using the Executioner gloves, just spamming that magic over and over again, and then just stabbing myself for more bullets.
Yeah. It's that whole dungeon shouldn't have been
a thing.
As see on the last episode that came out with Jeremy, the worst levels, chalices, took number 2. Just in general. But we joked about making chalices like all 10 of the, or me doing that because Jeremy likes the chalices, but doing all 10 of them just being different chalices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was number 1 on that list?
Boy, why is the name escaping me? Like the Frigid Wastes.
Oh, fuck that place, yeah.
Snow Zone, yeah, that's my least favorite. Chalices were number 2. And chalices, like, take way more time and are actually, like, more bewildering, I guess. You know, because it's like, oh, this is everything I don't like about, or nothing I like from the main game. But that Snowy Waste is such a badly designed, unfun area.
Just so many fuck you reindeers just charging in.
Yeah. When the episode comes out, give it a listen, because we did a lot of, like, kind of going back and forth, thinking of ways to make it better. And I think that that could have been really cool with a couple real minor tweaks. But they did not have them. Whereas, like, chalices would require a major overhaul to be good. Like, they'd have to be authored content, as, you know, we were talking about in the green room kind of before this. Like, procedurally generated content doesn't really do it for me.
Right.
In general. My number 8 is Eldritch from Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
Who I think I'm kind of in the minority as far as liking the fight.
Yep.
We really hate that fight. I think that I like it, and we just talked about this on the show, the episode that just came out, but I think it is because the playstyle he's enforcing is how I play the game. So it felt good to be rewarded for that, which is ultra cautiously. Like, I play Dark Souls games very conservatively. Even in Bloodborne, even in when I'm doing a no shield run, I don't just charge into a situation. Like, the fun part of me is hanging back, looking at ambush points, like trying to figure out how the game, you know, being cautious is the fun part for me. Not running in, getting stabbed, and then being like, okay, I'm learning from that. Let's move in and now know that's going to happen. Like, I like to try to predict that stuff. And Eldritch wants you to stay away, wants to keep you away from him, and really rewards that kind of play.
He likes eating alone.
He does. He does. Don't watch me eat. And that just works. And then the fact that the entirety, like almost everything I like about the Dark Souls 3 story leads up to him.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job of, like, having him built up as a figure. You know, you spend the entire first half of the game just like, oh, we're meeting Eldritch. Like, here's his church that he's abandoned. It's a real scum pit. Here's his, like, keeper and the city they've taken over. Oh, shit, they did it to Anor Londo. Like, they just, like, everything gets, like, built up and built up. So it's, like, holistically really powerful as a thing. And it's like, that's the experience I wanted from the end boss of Dark Souls 3.
Right.
And, like, didn't get. Like, this is the culminating, I've spent all this time having this thing built up, and here it is moment that you get in that game. And it's weird that it takes place halfway through the game, but it does. And that is why Eldritch is my number 8.
I hate a lot of things about Eldritch. Eldritch in Dark Souls 3 was like the highest amount of, I don't know how I just died, but I died.
It was arrows.
It was arrows maybe 1 or 2 times. The rest, because arrows, eventually it's just like, oh shit, I gotta run. And then it's just you're running for like half a minute, which drives me nuts. And that I usually would die when he would RNG spam the Dark Soul Spear over and over again. And it's like, I'll dodge, I'll get hit once, and it'll just chain kill me over and over. Even with shield up, because stamina damage on that dark.
Yeah, that thing's real rough. Yeah, I mean, and typically I don't like things that have one-hit kills, and I never got one-hit kill by the Soul Spear thing. But the arrows, if you get hit by an arrow, you're
done.
You're pretty gone. I just found it pretty easy to deal with because the wind-up is so huge.
Yeah.
It's just about, again, it's about caution and patience, because you just can't start fighting him again until, you can't do that when you feel like you can. You have to wait a little bit longer.
I think I hate the run-up to Aldrich way more than the actual fight against Aldrich.
Yeah, the run-up is not super fun either. There's something like 15 of those little slimes down there.
Oh, those... slimes are just to be annoying. It's more of the Gatling gun of, seriously, what do the deacons have? Like, their range on those things is ridiculous.
Yeah. Huge range. Yeah, 100%. I don't like the run-up either. What's your number 7, Al?
Don't know how we're going to talk about this again, but it's Sir Alon.
This happens in these. This happened with me and Allison too. Just if there's anything we didn't add, we can add it, but we don't have to. Speaking of bad run-ups, like Sir Alon has one of the worst run-ups in the series, I think. But the boss fight is good enough to make it work for me.
Yeah, I think I didn't have. I remember it being very long and very annoying, but I think it was mitigated for me because you can do co-op in that opening room.
Yeah.
Which ended up being fantastic. And even if you couldn't find anybody, there were like 2 NPCs which would die by the time you got to Sir Alon, but they do most of the work.
And that's kind of what you want anyway. Like, you want to fight Sir Alon 101.
Oh, definitely.
Not Sir Alon 101, the college course for Sir Alon credit.
If you fail, you got to kill yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then you get an A. Or then your roommate gets an A for the rest of the term. It is. There's a couple places like that where there's an NPC summon that's just meant to get you through a tough place. That was something like Dark Souls 2 was trying to do with the small white soapstone.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to encourage brief co-op runs, and it never really took off. Like, they didn't have a way to mechanically incentivize that. Like, people who are gonna co-op through the whole game are still gonna co-op through the whole game. People are gonna not only co-op on bosses are still going to do that, and people aren't going to co-op at all are still, they couldn't really find a way to make that work.
Besides, I mean, why wouldn't you get the white soapstone from mild-mannered Pate? He's so mild-mannered, there's nothing wrong with him.
He's also, right there.
I know.
You get it, right after you get the small one, so.
Well, the small one was pretty hidden,
Yeah.
Because most people don't realize, I can break that door.
It's definitely more hidden.
Yeah.
I guess, one of them is, you have to get, fall for that trap and then come back and talk to him again. Like, neither of them are hidden by Dark Souls standards, but it's just, you do get them really in close succession.
Yeah.
That succession at the very least. My number 7 is the Ivory King, the Burnt Ivory King from Dark Souls 2, which is one of my favorite, set piece moments in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping down there with a full host of summons and a full host of NPC knights to do a gigantic brawl. The series has never done anything like that before. This is a unique boss fight. And that's one of the things I love about the Dark Souls 2 DLCs is that they were trying kind of new things, with some of the bosses here.
Yeah, the Dark Souls 2 DLCs I feel were stronger than the actual game.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty common, I agree. Most people, I think that. I think the Dark Souls 2 DLCs, if they were judged on their own, are, up there. They're, maybe my favorite non-Dark Souls 1 content.
Yeah.
Just, the DLCs rather than looking at the whole thing. Because they're so strong, And this is such a good culmination. I love how it plays into the rest of the level. You're rewarded for exploring this area, for going back after the ice has changed and really poking every corner. And your reward, like, you don't need to get all 4 of the Frog Knights.
Yeah.
But your reward is this, like, awesome feeling of empowerment of bringing, here's 8 total people down here on my side.
Yeah.
Here's my gang. Like, I'm rolling deep on this. And then just that it's really metal as shit, like falling through jumping into an endless pit and falling into the old chaos, which is so cool looking.
Oh yeah, in the total Mordor, like, Sauron, like, entrance of the Burnt Ivory King.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's good. Like, it's high quality.
If the Skeleton Lords didn't exist, this would easily get the most metal opening.
Absolutely. And this is in a series with, like, the Executioner's Chariot, as like a thing, like in a series known for, like, heavy metal album cover bosses. Like, this is so perfectly composed as a heavy metal album cover. And even story-wise, like, I like the Ivory King. There's not that much there, but I like the idea that you're fighting. It's really similar to Artorias, where you're fighting somebody who is fundamentally good, who has sacrificed their sanity to kind of seal something away.
Yeah.
Artorias wasn't successful in that. Like, you actually go and do the job, but that's you're fighting somebody who went to go do something good and was corrupted by it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's resonant and cool. So, yeah. What do you have for? Are you still? You're number 6 now, right?
Yeah, I think we're both on 6.
Yeah. What's your number 6, Al?
Dancer of the Boreal Valley.
Ooh, yeah.
It's one of the, like, it seems like just a very generic fight, but the fact that it's a dancer makes the fight seem like no matter what, it's always in slow motion, which is fantastic. And the fact that you can beat her immediately if you want. Don't do it, but if you want, you can totally do it.
It's actually a huge power buff if you do that.
Oh, I mean, I've done it.
Like,
it's
you
so
gain like
difficult.
12 levels. It's really, really hard. There's that trick where you can summon the master.
I did that once just to, like, there's no way that this is gonna, it does work.
Yeah.
But, they patched it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Bummer.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine waiting to fight her until after. Plus, it's so satisfying to just kill Emma. It's like, you are so useless as an NPC. give me your Basin of Vows and let's just get this fucking over with.
This fight is not on my list, but I love this fight. This is in my, like, my favorite fights in Dark Souls 3. It's so good. And that slow motion kind of underwater feel to it is so contrary to the kind of percussive nature of most boss fights.
Right.
Like, there's so little sense of impact to anything the dancer does. Like, it doesn't even look like it hurts, when you get hit.
Yeah, like when she does the spin to win, it's just like, wow, this is really pretty. I want to watch. Oh, God. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, God damn it.
It's like fighting a beautiful flower.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really good. I love this boss fight.
Undertale before Undertale goes fucking berserk.
Yeah, exactly. It is, she's flowy.
Yeah.
I love that boss fight. That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So not on my list, but agreed. My number 6, is Gwyn, from Dark Souls 1. Which, talked about a lot on the show why I love this boss fight. Like, it is a real perfect culmination of mechanics and theme and presentation. Like, you come in, we've had Gwyn built up to this kind of great lord, but we know that he's on hard times. He's barely keeping control of his kingdom, and Orlando is an illusion. You get here, and the music is, I love it.
Perfect.
It's perfect. It's really sad, really anticlimactic. The arena is this kind of just washed out, ember, kind of colored campfire. And then mechanically, he's, pretty aggressive and still is kind of fighting, but, like, people hate this boss fight because you can parry him, because there are some people who play these games, literally the only thing they want is just, like, climbing a mountain. I want to be able to say I beat the hardest fucking thing in the world. And that's why Nameless King is there for you. Like, that's, go to Gwyn's son. That's what that's for. This is for, Ludwig or not Ludwig the Accursed,
Lawrence.
Maybe it is like, Lawrence or Ludwig, like, the headless beast, the Bloodborne's there for you. If you just want to have, like, I've done the hardest thing in the world. This is trying to do something more than that. And the fact that you can fight this guy and kill him with the same tactics you've used on regular enemies, through parrying him is a huge bonus, not a negative. He's supposed to be a little bit easier than you'd expect. Like, this game is too good and artful to have just like a ramp as its structure. That was Ornstein and Smough. That was the super hard boss fight. Everything after that is kind of like a denouement.
Yeah, and like story-wise, it works because he's not at the top of his game. He's kind of
he's at the bottom of his game. Like you're mercy killing him. Like you're putting he's just been like, and it's really important to see what linking in the fire does to you. So it's giving you so much information in just a boss fight. So hey, this is what this guy did. If I decide to kind of rekindle this, like...
Yeah, you create sequels. Yeah. It's a sequel machine.
Yeah, if I pull the lever on the sequel machine, it's going to hurt, I'm going to turn into this kind of pathetic wretch. So that is why Gwyn is my number 6. Love Gwyn. Who do you got for number 5, Alex?
For number 5, keeping with the theme of the last one, I have Smorio. I have Ornstein and Smough. I mean, what can I say that's not already been said? It's Ornstein and Smough. They're just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, they are fantastic. I love that boss fight.
Like it's obviously designed for co-op. They are meme kings. Like, you can't go on the internet and like search Dark Souls without seeing some kind of funny Ornstein and Smough thing, because they're just awesome. They're an awesome buddy cop duo.
Yep.
It's just
they're the turn-around hooch of Dark Souls.
Who would you kill? Do you kill Smough first or Ornstein?
Oh, I kill Ornstein first. I have a way easier time dealing with Super Smough than Super Ornstein.
Yeah, even though because Ornstein you get the ring as well.
Yeah. Which the ring is inarguably better than the nothing you get. I mean, I guess the armor you can get, but the the nothing you really get from killing Smough last. But it's just way easier for me. I've only killed Super Ornstein a couple of times.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know what it is about him that I find significantly harder. I mean, the first phase is obviously the hardest thing.
Yeah, he's just a lot more, like, Super Ornstein's just way more aggressive, and you just have to worry about the fat fuck just doing the jump and then the slam and then the light.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's, when you get the timing down, it's no problem, but Ornstein's just, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm stabbed.
I fought these guys with, my soul level 1 run, which was really, really excruciating and annoying to do.
I did too. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of crossbow, like running away and using crossbows is what I did.
Pyromancy.
It is, but that stuff runs out. It's, I do that too, but it's like, it didn't last for me. It's really, really, really hard. These guys are on my list too in a little bit, so I will save a little bit of thunder for them. But I also love that boss fight. My number 5 boss fight, very similar to my number 6, I guess, is Maiden Estrella from Demon Souls, which is, again, not about challenge, but is purposely not about challenge. The dialogue and music when you come in here is as good as the Gwyn presentation, I think. Like going into this pit where people are worshiping her and just that, like, hurt tone, like, there's nothing for you to take here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's always been kind of a subtext of all of the Soulsborne games. Like, you run into it with Bloodborne too, like, oh, maybe we're the beast.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's strongest in Demon Souls. Like, in Demon Souls, I think is when they really leaned into that, like, oh, you're doing the thing that you're trying to fight. Like, you're killing things and just taking on souls and growing more powerful and becoming a monster. And I think Demon Souls, out of all the entries in the series, does the best job of muddying that up. And the kind of climax of that theme of this being not cut and dry is with the Maiden Estrella boss fight. Where after you fight, like somebody who's no harder than a regular NPC, you literally go kill a nearly helpless woman.
Plus, there's poison swamp demon babies. It's on the
There
list.
are a lot of there are poison swamp demon babies there, which are great, and also probably animated aborted fetuses. Aborted babies or babies that have just been sacrificed to the swamp.
We lived through Bloodborne. This is nothing to us.
It's a dark time. It's that stuff was going on early on.
Yeah.
So Maiden Astray is my lady. I love that boss fight. I love how when I watch Dave Klein's videos, how that music ends up in every one of his videos.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, he uses it in just about all of them, and it's like, good, you should, because it's, you know, really, really excellent music.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to use? Like, oh, you know, you're not going to use any other boss fight music. It's not atmospheric. You got to use, got to go back to like King's Field 4 and Demon Souls for the atmospheric shit.
Oh, is it a sad moment? Shit, I got to use Gwyn again.
Yeah. Exactly. It's my only option. It's Gwyn.wave. And then if it's haunting, it's, you know, it's Gwendolyn.wave, and then that's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your number 4?
Number 4 is also from Demon Souls, and it is the Old Monk.
Oh, fantastic.
Because,
that is also on my list.
Yeah, this one is just for innovation purposes, because, like, 2009, and you have a boss fight where another player can come in and be the boss. That's fucking awesome.
It's so good. It sucks that like a lot of people who are playing, I can't remember if the Demon Souls servers are still, if there's co-op activated. I played offline because I had my PS3 last time I played it, but it sucks that this is an experience that people are going to lose. Like, you're never going to get summoned as the Mere Squire, you know, at some point, and you're never going to get summoned as the Old Monk. Because that's so fucking cool. I love it.
Plus, the main thing for me is you get there, and if that cutscene doesn't happen, it's like, okay, this is going to be an easy fight. I'm going to be fighting the NPC version of this guy. No problem. And then you're halfway up the stairs defeating the little Cthulhu douchebags, and then all of a sudden, the cutscene happens. And it's like, oh, fuck.
There's this moment of dread, yeah. And it's cool how variable it can be. Like, it's either like one of the easiest boss fights in the game or one of the hardest.
Yeah.
Just, you know, kind of just depending on how active people are. I love that boss fight. I mean, I guess like, cause it's on my list as well coming up. But I love how, even if it wasn't for this multiplayer thing, the presentation is so good.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the monk is not the character, it's actually the head wrap and all of the chairs piled up. Like, it's so good.
I mean,
it's so good.
Yeah, plus that reward for getting, like, being the boss, and you get the yellow penis hat. And it stays with you for the whole series. There's nothing better.
And it's mechanically, like, really strong. So, like,
until Dark Souls 3.
Well, exactly. And then, you know, but in the first one, it's like 30% magic damage or something like that.
Yeah.
It's something unreasonable. And you just, you're rewarded for playing into the game that the developers want you to play. So that's so good.
Yeah. Old Monk is the reason that, magic in the rest of the series sucks.
Yeah, exactly. We have to nerf this.
Yeah. Because Demon Souls was already ridiculous.
It's true.
Then you get the 30% bonus on top of that, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, you could just steamroll it. But like, I love that in the first 2 games where you could do that, because it just became a choice. Like, if you want to do that, like, go for it.
Right.
But if not, you know, don't. Like, I like a player controlled difficulty it's more collaborative than adversarial, which is what it feels like now, where there's just kind of one way to play. With you know, it seems like there's more than one way to play, and there's more than one. But with Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, there are way fewer ways to play because it's hard, and they took away systems. Yeah. My number 4 is Ornstein and Smough. So I don't have too much more to add about that, other than that it is you know, it's a lot of people's probably favorite boss fight in the series, and for good reason. It's also like such a huge difficulty spike. It's one of the few boss fights, because if you go back to Dark Souls 1, a lot of it's pretty easy if you've been playing the series this whole time.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times that stands toe and toe with like the hardest shit in the series.
I think it's just the location, where it's at in the game. It's just so iconic with the series now. It's like, oh, Dark Souls 1, Ornstein and Smough. Just immediately. Yeah. Plus, I feel like every boss that leads up to Ornstein and Smough is kind of a cakewalk, especially right before, when the only thing that you're truly worried about with the Iron Golem is if he's going to accidentally knock you off.
Yeah. This is the real test. Like, if that's supposed to be the test, this is actually
right
kind of thing. And I love once Dark Anne Orlando gets introduced to this, where you start having to question like whether this is actually even real too. I end up like really liking that kind of that lore lit.
Yeah, kind of just, Even though we only talk in hushed whispers about the old Dragon Slayer in Dark Souls 2, but just the fact that his lore just like, especially Ornstein, fuck Smo, Ornstein's lore just keeps growing as the series goes on, which makes his like only true signature appearance in the first game just so much better.
Yeah, this is like the canon Ornstein.
Mm-hmm.
For me, is like what's here. It's like, oh, there's like Gwyn has these 4 knights. Like, it's really evocative and cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's one guy who wants to be one of the knights, but he can't because he's too repulsive. This all works wonderfully. He's real good. Who is your number 3?
My number 3 is the Burnt Ivory King.
Okay.
For some of the many reasons we've already said, just the fact that you're basically an army going against an army. It's fucking awesome. Just as pure spectacle, it's probably just the most fun you can have in the series with other players.
Yeah, it is. Even after I beat him, like, I posted up there for quite a while just to help people play it.
Yeah,
because it was really fun to be part of something that big.
And you're actually rewarded for, like, it's one of the few replayable boss fights. Because you can get, like, the more you fight him, the more you join and do co-op, the more armor and stuff you get as rewards. Which is great.
You get those souls, so you can, and get closer to Alana. Her name, I can't remember, that daughter of Manus who's associated with that DLC, whose name is escaping me right now. But yeah, agreed. Agreed on all points. My number 3 is Maria from Bloodborne.
Okay.
It is the only Bloodborne fight that's on my list. There are other good fights in that game. Like, I like Gurman a lot. I like Kaz. There's a lot of boss fights in that game I really don't like. But a couple things got bumped off my list because of Dark Souls 3 and stuff. So no Mikolash anymore. I love Mikolash.
I love Mikolash.
I love Mikolash a lot.
He was in the 10 to 15 range.
Me too. Not for he's up there.
Yeah, not for being a good boss fight, but just being a good sport.
Yeah, for seeming good, for having good taste.
Yeah.
But Maria is actually, so I think this is the platonic ideal of a Bloodborne fight. For me, is fighting another hunter with some extra abilities that progressively gets more and more. When we talked about different phases building with twin princesses, this is the best example of that, I think, where like all three of Maria's phases build on the previous ones to where your previous knowledge is not useless. It's just you have to tweak it a little bit. Like, it doesn't feel like totally throwing everything out. It's like, oh, okay, now that she has a long fire tail to this charge, I can no longer dodge behind her. I still need to dodge, though. The dodge timing is the same. I need to dodge to her side instead.
Right.
Like, you have to kind of reevaluate without totally rebuilding. And just like, Maria has amazing kind of lore and story behind her. Mm-hmm. Like figuring out like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the doll. Wait a minute. That was such an awesome moment to kind of like piece all that together was really, really satisfying.
Plus her intro video right before the fight is haunting. Yeah,
it's top tier. This arena is amazing. That clock is like, I wish they would sell like reproductions of that clock. It doesn't even have to tell time. Like,
it could just open up into a fishing hamlet. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, honestly, I'll just crawl into another dimension. Yeah. I don't want to know what time it is. I just want to get killed by gigantic ogre, koi ponds.
I should put them on my list.
Yeah, those fuckers.
Fucking shark demon boss things in the well are like 100 times harder than any boss in the series.
Those things suck. It's like the Bloodborne version of the two beasts in the well in Dark Souls 3. But anytime you're fighting like two gigantic things that can kill you in one combo, I'm not very happy.
Mm-hmm.
But Maria I am very happy with. And then also her fashion game is so on point. Like, it's such a good, every time I played as a lady character, I bought that clothing because it looks so good.
Yeah.
Maria owns. So, way into Maria, that's my number 3. Who do you got for number 2?
Number 2 is, shocker, Artorias of the Abyss.
Artorias. So it's kind of interesting because I want to know what your number 1 is. But, Artorias of the Abyss. Tell us about him.
He's hard. He is very fucking hard. He was like, Artorias is that first moment of, this is a duel, in the series for me. I I had a lot of trouble with him doing like a tanky build, and basically Artorias teaches you how to dodge.
Mm-hmm.
I could not beat him for the life of me until I went completely naked and then did, like the Nameless King, just had no room for error and finally got him. And his moveset is just awesome. Plus, he starts the fight by throwing the corpse of an enemy at you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so feral and cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's so many good things about him. I want to save it a little bit because he shows up on my list as well.
Mm-hmm.
Save some of my talk, but I love that cutscene so much because he's been built up too. It's similar to an Aldrich or a Gwyn, where like you've heard about this person so much, and then seeing the actual thing and having it be this kind of twisted version of it, I really, really love.
And just like Ornstein, I feel like his legacy makes this fight against him in the first game better in the later games. Especially, like, no one gives Dark Souls 2 credit, but the fact that his sword in Dark Souls 2 is better if you hold it in your left hand,
that's
fucking cool.
I love that so much. Yeah, this is tops for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess spoiler. I really love this boss fight. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in just a second.
I mean, we can just say he's number one considering how high up he is overall on both of our lists. Yeah,
he probably averages out.
Yeah.
My number two, we've also already talked about, which is the Old Monk.
Mm-hmm.
For all the reasons we already talked about, the idea of a sentient rap is really, really appealing to me. This demon that kind of like corrupts and stuff, and you go through Latry and you kind of like learn a little bit of the history of it. It's Demon Souls, so you don't get a full picture, but you just get this idea of this thing kind of corrupting the king.
Yeah.
Slowly, and then actually being able to see the ruin of his body. The body language is perfect. The way like when it points, it feels like it looks like a puppet string kind of thing. Like he kind of there's a momentum that doesn't feel intentional.
Yeah, kind of like that cutscene with Logarius.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this should not be moving, but it is moving.
Yeah, and it feels animated as opposed to, natural and, and then just like this is a unreasonably specific IMDb tag, but like I am interested in rooms where something has gone wrong, and the way you can tell is a bunch of chairs are piled up on one wall or something like that. They always look like gravity mistakes to me, like there's been a localized problem with gravity in this room. Or something like that. Like when I go into haunted houses, I've seen it where like chairs are piled up against the corner. There's a couple of movies where they do that.
Hey, he's just trying to protect his like pillow fort that he's made for himself.
I love that pillow fort, man.
Yeah,
gotta get down on that pillow fort. So Old Monk is my number two. I love that boy. He's good.
He's an old boy.
He's an old boy. very much an old boy. What is your number one?
Number one it's Lady Maria.
Lady Maria, yay!
Because I love Lady Maria. She's just fucking awesome. That's why I didn't really talk that much when you were going over. It's that perfect execution of, all right, we're going to build, the second half of this fight is building on the first, and you don't, it's like, no one expects the Lady Maria, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition of, we're going to have two boss fights right in a row, and you'll have no idea that it's going to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since that first boss fight is complete garbage.
Yeah. It is, and just sets an expectation. You're not expecting to get it exactly, and you're not expecting to have the same kind of thing. Like that redeems the Living Failures for me a little bit.
Yeah.
This idea that they're set up to kind of fuck with your expectations. For Maria, who is, is sublime. And is the best thing that Bloodborne can do. Like, all the best Bloodborne fights, none of them are gigantic monsters.
Right.
Spoiler for my bottom 10 list. Like, the series
at you,
is just,
Ludwig!
Looking at you, Ludwig. Fuck you, Abritus.
Fuck Abritus.
Yeah, fuck, I mean, there's my bottom 10 has a lot of Bloodborne bosses. The further away I get from Bloodborne, it ends up being like, other than build variety, like the one thing that stops it from being my favorite is that I think so many of the bosses are pretty shitty.
Yeah, like like Bloodborne as a game, I would put in like the bottom tier of Souls games. Bloodborne as a thematic concept and just story, it's way above any other thing Miyazaki's ever done. It's so cool.
It's really unified. Yeah, it's very, very strong, kind of plot and aesthetic wise. And I really, really, really love it. It's like, it would have benefited a lot, and I'm sure we talked about this, but not from having any Souls DNA in it.
Right.
You know, because like a lot of the parts of it that kind of suck are Souls holdovers, like some of these like grab attacks, you know, that you end up having, like that feels like a Souls thing, and shouldn't really be there. Anyway, the Maria is fantastic. And then my number one is Artorias, which we already talked about, but we're on roughly the same page here. Where Artorias is like getting to the point where, you know, I had that snap moment that everybody loves where like you die, and then you almost do it without taking damage.
Yeah.
Cause you just know, and I still like every time I've gotten to Artorias since then, I can still more or less just have the muscle memory for what the attacks are. One of the things I love about Artorias that I don't love about some of the later duels, so things like the Nameless King, is that Artorias has like a manageable number of moves. Artorias has like 5 moves. You know, so you're not memorizing, you're memorizing one set of things. They're very aggressive. They're hard to predict. You know, they're devastating when you get hit, but there's like 5 of them.
Yeah, like,
so
I think like Nameless King probably only has 5 moves, but it's like a move that has like a second part to it. So it's like he slams his spear down, and then a second later lightning shoots out from it, and it's like, oh fuck.
It reminds me of the way that, so Artorias has one of those where he has his somersault move, and there's no way to really tell whether he's going to do it 1, 2, or 3 times. There's not a tell. Like later boss fights feel like they're made of that. Mm-hmm. Like all of the moves could be a 2, 3, 4, or 5 hit combo, and there's no tell on what they are. And then a lot of times, and this isn't true of Nameless King, but this is true of some of the later fights where that is the case, and then they also have a second phase where their moveset totally changes.
Yeah, like,
and it's like, it's just more than I want to memorize for like a boss fight.
Like,
you know?
with Artorias, it feels like Artorias is just so aggressive, and I can't believe I'm saying that as a pro to the fight. Because usually it's like, it feels like the Dancer fight, except sped up 200%, where there's, despite how fast and aggressive that fight is, there's still a rhythm to it. And when you get that rhythm, the fight is just so rewarding and just so awesome.
There's tons of downtime in the Artorias fight. Like, whenever he charges, if you dodge out of the way, you have a chance to either get in a quick hit or attack. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll throw the abyssal kind of dust behind him. He does that thing. But
get the fuck away from me, juice.
Even just his facial expression or the body language when he does that is so dismissive and like, you know, but he'll do that, but that doesn't hurt very much. Like if you get hit by that, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And if you get distance between him, he allows you to have a long distance between you and him, and he'll charge, as opposed to duels where the person is just always in your face. You know, like they will never get away from you. Artorias, if you dodge out of his way and he charges past you, you can kind of run to the other side of the arena and you have some time to catch up.
Right.
You know, and like that kind of time to catch up is really important to, in my mind, to Souls games, like the rhythm of the combat is having those little brief moments. Like I don't want a 7-minute adrenaline rush. Like I want to have this kind of like back and forth, this like chess thing. Mm-hmm. You know, that's been compared to, and like even boss fights I really like Orphan of Kos, which I really like, is still a smidge more aggressive than I'd want. Yeah. You know? Like, I like that boss fight, but it is very, like, he's just always up in your dick.
Yeah, well, that's like the problem with Bloodborne is the fact that the game is designed where you always have to be up in the dick of things that want to be up in your dick.
Everyone's getting into each other. It's like a sounding party, the likes of which the world has never seen. There's just a lot of getting up in dick, and like I like to have a variety.
Have you seen Sausage Party yet?
I have not seen that. Is that about getting up in dicks?
Well, when you get to the end of the movie, if you ever see it, the end of the movie, you'll be like, oh, that's what Alex was talking about.
No, I had like no interest in that, and then I read about it, and everyone was like, oh, it's this weird movie about religion.
It is.
And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, it's non sequitur. Like, it's an interesting movie because it's think if like all of the problems that are currently like affecting the world, like the black and white cops situation and like the election and crazy religious people and stuff, like all of like just, you know, the things going on in America right now because our country rules. They put that in this movie, but then you realize, oh shit, this was written by Seth Rogen.
Yeah, okay. Like, yeah, it's the subject matter is good, and it's just not going to be treated with the kind of, you know, the respect that you want.
Well, I mean, to a point, to like some extent, it does. Like they do a good job with it. It's just, it's kind of hard to take anything seriously when it's followed by like fuck being said 15 times in a fart joke.
Yeah. Yep. I gotcha. I gotcha.
So yeah,
it's possible I'll see it. Yeah, it's like it feels like it would be the kind of thing I would watch on an airplane if they would show it on an airplane. Like I would want to watch it when
they
I'm
will
like,
not. Oh dear.
Yeah, I really doubt it. So we'll see. Maybe at some point I will end up seeing it. Regardless of which, that is my number one. Your number one. There's with the top. This happened with top 10 areas with me and Allison too, where we had some of the same ones. The bottom bosses and areas I think are going to be a little bit more diverse. Not that it makes a bad kind of time, even if they're similar.
I'm rooting for Manus to be on the bottom.
I hate he's not on my bottom, but he might be on Cole's. So Cole's the one I'm doing the bottom bosses with, and we'll see if he's not on mine. I'm not super into the Manus boss fight. But it didn't end up on my bottom list. So but yeah, this was super fun. Hopefully you had fun, Alex. Where can people find you online?
People can find me at Blighttownbeacon.com.
Yeah, check it out. It is a good fun time. It is funny. And the production is really nice too. I like the little fake newspaper and stuff like that too. If you ever did I don't know, I was going to say Kickstarter, I don't know what it'd be for, but it would be fun to have, like, a single copy of the actual issue. You should look into what it would take to do, like, a zine.
Well, I kind of, like, decided way back when, like, a year, because I've been running this now for about 3 years, and at, like, the end of the first year, I was thinking of, like, when I finally shut this down, when they finally stop making Souls games and I'm completely creatively bankrupt, I'm going to have just a full-on compilation of every single one. Printed or something.
That'd be really cool to have like a physical copy, like a coffee table book. It'd be really fun. And special thanks. So thank you to Alex. Thank you to the people who backed the Souls of Darkness Kickstarter. I'm doing these episodes as opposed to doing a other stretch goal that I made that I do not have the capacity to make. My eyes were bigger than my stomach, but this is people seem to like these, and these are really fun to do. So I'm going to do as many of these as I have ideas for. You can, if you have, it's not our patrons, it's not the people who listen, it's specifically the people who backed the Souls of Darkness Kickstarter you have to thank for this. So if you like this, run to the first random, 20 or 30 people you run to the street, see if they backed the Kickstarter, and thank them if they did. And if not, I don't know, politely say goodbye. Yeah. I was going to say...
Just tell them there's a $20,000 stretch goal where Gary will take you to Disney World.
Boy, that would be really fun. Like I'd want somebody to get that just so I'd have an excuse to like go to Disney World. This is a dingy world. Dingy world. I'm Banksy.
Like the BoJack Horseman episode.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys very much for listening, and we'll see you with regular episodes on Sunday and the bottom 10 bosses with Cole as soon as we get that recorded. So,
Umbasa.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon